Hello, everyone. This is Harp.
And Maura.
And we're here at Culip's English Learning Podcast, bringing you another great episode.
That's right. And if you haven't been to our website lately, why don't you go visit? It's culips.com, CULIPS.com. Because it's only on our website where you can become a member. And when you become a member, you have access to our learning materials. And Harp, what's in our learning materials?
Well, in the learning materials for each episode, you get a complete transcript, detailed explanations, and even a quiz. And really, they're really useful and will help you learn English even more.
That's right. If there's something that you didn't understand when listening, who knows, it might just be in our learning materials.
And if you're on Facebook, come on over and say hi. And if you have a question, you can leave us a question there.
Now, today we are going to do a Chatterbox episode, and that is where Harp and I just get to chat about some topic of interest, where we also share some cultural information and expressions.
Yeah, today we're doing an interesting Chatterbox. Well, they're all interesting, but this one's different.
That's right. This time we're going to talk about personalities. So how we can describe people and the way that they act and behave.
Yes. We're going to start with talking about personality types and the different ones.
And then we're going to talk about a way that you can interpret personality types, which is through astrology and horoscopes.
And then we're going to talk about acting like yourself and your personality.
Right, we're going to talk about our own personalities too. If you've been listening for a while, you might already have a sense of my personality and Harp's personality too.
Yeah, you probably do. All right, let's get started, Maura.
All right, so first we're going to talk about personality types. Now, there are really just two basic personality types, introverted and extroverted.
Yeah, introverted and extroverted.
They're usually treated like opposites. Introverted describes a kind of person who is more focused on their own thoughts and feelings and is not as interested in talking and socializing with other people. So introverted people are usually quiet people, thinking people.
Yep, and an extroverted person is usually more confident and lively. They like social situations. They like talking a lot.
Right, and if you think about the words introverted, inter is like looking inside of the person. So a person who is introverted is inside themselves. And extroverted, extro is like outside. So an extroverted person likes expressing themselves and communicating with people.
Yep, and like you said, they're usually talked about in terms of opposites. Someone is usually either introverted or extroverted. But sometimes it depends on the social setting.
Yeah, that's true. It's not always so cut and dry. So someone who is introverted might be seen as socially awkward because they don't talk to other people and they're not really friendly people.
Yeah, they're shy. They're usually in the corners at parties. They're not the life of the party at all.
Yeah, that's right. They're often soft-spoken, which means that they don't speak loudly when they do talk. They're the kind of person that doesn't feel comfortable being loud and drawing attention to themselves.
Yeah, again, if you think about a party, they're usually the wallflower, which means they always hang out in the corner or in the back or on the side. They're not in the middle and in the center of attention.
Harp, have you seen that movie that came out recently called The Perks of Being a Wallflower?
I haven't seen it, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I saw it just a few months ago, and it was really good. This movie, I'll say the title again, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, is about a person who is very introverted. So who is a wallflower? He's very quiet. He doesn't have very many friends. He's very intellectual. But in this movie, he makes some friends and learns to be more social.
It seems like a really nice movie. I'm going to watch it soon.
Yeah, you should. It's actually a book as well.
If we talk about extroverted people, they're very outgoing. They're usually telling jokes or stories, and people are listening to them. They really like being the center of attention. They like other people's attention to be on them.
Yeah, these kind of people are the life of the party. They're friendly. They don't feel shy about striking up a conversation with a complete stranger.
Sometimes they can come off a little bit of a show-off because they always want to talk about themselves and their stories.
Yeah, there are really pros and cons to both of these personality types. If you're extroverted, you're very friendly, but you can also seem maybe loudmouthed or arrogant. And introverted people are thought to be more intellectual, but you could also seem maybe rude because you're quiet all the time, or people might think you're a hermit because you stay in and don't go out very much.
Yeah, and oftentimes with introverted people, you might think they're cold because they don't show their feelings as much.
Yep, that's true. But I think you really hit the nail on the head earlier, Harp, when you said that some people can be introverted and extroverted in different situations. It's not so fixed to say that one person is always introverted and one person is always extroverted.
Yeah, most of the time it's situational. But there are definitely those people who are really introverted, they're really shy, or they're extremely extroverted in all situations.
Yeah, that's true. You know, when I was thinking about this episode, I decided to do a little bit of research online, and there's a really famous personality test that most people have heard about called the Myers-Briggs test. And this is a test that tries to describe and explain personality. So a person can take this test and then get some results and insight into the kind of person they are.
I remember studying this in school, but I don't remember if I ever took the test.
Well, it's funny because online I also found that technically the test is only valid if it's performed on you by a professional. Although on the internet, there are tons of fun personality tests that give you feedback and give you some description about the kind of person you might be.
That's fun. Did you take it?
I did do a test that I found online, and I'll post that on Facebook if any of our listeners are interested in doing the test too. And I found out that between being introverted and extroverted, I'm very balanced. It said that I have a very small tendency to be more extroverted, but that I'm very balanced.
Seems right to me.
Yeah. So it was a fun test to take, and it's fun to think about what your answers might be.
I might take it as well.
Yeah, do it. Okay, now let's talk about another way to help analyze and understand people and their personalities.
And I just want to say thank you to Tati, our Culips listener, who suggested that we talk about zodiac signs.
Yeah, so pretty popular in North America are horoscopes. You'll see them in almost every newspaper, in many magazines, and you'll find tons of websites devoted to giving you your horoscope.
Now, I don't really check my horoscope a lot, but I know a lot of people in Canada check their horoscopes.
Yeah, they're fun. Some people check just for fun, and some people never check. And there are even some people who know a lot about horoscopes and their astrological signs.
Yeah, some people know a lot. It's a bit scary how much they know.
So your horoscope is a prediction for your future based on your astrological sign. Your astrological sign is a special name which tells about your personality. And these don't go by month. They go by a certain day to another day. So what I mean is, for example, I'm a Scorpio. And if you're a Scorpio, that means that you're born between October 24th and November 22nd. And there are all kinds of these funny names for signs all throughout the calendar year. So on November 23rd, the next astrological sign starts after Scorpio, which is Sagittarius. And that sign also lasts for about another month.
Yep, like you're a Scorpio, I'm a Libra, and Libras are people born between September 24th and October 23rd.
Right. Along with each astrological sign, you also have certain personality traits that are supposed to describe anyone born in that time.
Yeah, and so people born under certain signs have certain personality traits.
Right. So why don't you tell us a bit about the personality traits of being a Libra?
Okay, so I was looking online because I don't know a lot about horoscopes and I don't know a lot about my sign, but I'm a Libra and apparently we're charming people. We're sociable, laid back, and diplomatic.
I would say that sounds like you. But sometimes, horoscopes can sound like just about anybody.
That's true. It could be really anyone, but it also gives some negative traits.
Oh, what are those?
Libras are also indecisive and sometimes shallow.
Oh no, that's not good. Do you think that's true? Are you indecisive sometimes, Harp?
I can actually be indecisive sometimes, so maybe it's true.
It sounds like you're indecisive about whether or not you're decisive. Me too, though. I can be indecisive, and I'm not a Libra.
This is what I mean. It could be for anyone.
Well, for a Scorpio, they're usually described as passionate and emotional and also loyal. Some negative qualities are that Scorpios can be jealous or manipulative.
Well, I agree with the positive traits of Scorpio, but I don't know. I don't think you're a jealous person. Are you manipulative?
I think I am sometimes.
Oh.
And I know it's bad. I don't really mean to be. Anyway, so another kind of way that people find out about personalities, but not really in Canada, is by blood type.
Yes, and this is really interesting to me, and I had never heard of it before I started doing research for this episode.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it when I was in Japan, and someone asked me, Maura, what's your blood type? I didn't know, and they were really shocked that I didn't know my blood type.
That's funny because I don't know my blood type either.
Right. So it just goes to show how it's not very important in Canada or the US. It's not something that we normally use to talk about personalities.
Nope, definitely. But again, with doing some research for this episode, I tried to look up some personality traits for the different blood types. And to me, I think it's a little bit like horoscopes. It can fit any type.
So for example, type A is supposed to be a sensitive person and a good listener. Someone who has type B blood is supposed to be easygoing and flexible.
Yeah, and a type O is organized and decisive.
And we also see that type AB is a charming and popular person.
Really, I think most people could be a little bit of each.
I agree. But then there's also Chinese astrology. And that's a whole other way to judge personality types with your birth year.
Yeah, and in India, it's complex as well because it's on the day you're born that they check horoscopes. It's very complicated, and I don't know much about it.
Imagine if you used all of these and you found out your personality for your astrological sign and your Chinese astrological sign and your blood type, and you put all this together. Maybe you would have a really accurate description of your personality.
That would be interesting.
Now let's move on to the last part of this episode that we're going to call acting like yourself, which is funny because don't we always act like ourselves? Because I'm me and you're you, right?
That's true, but is your personality some defined thing or can it change over time?
That's a really good question. When you see a little kid playing who's like 3 or 4 years old and maybe they have a really outgoing personality, is that child going to be extroverted for their whole life or will their personality change? What do you think, Harp?
I think it changes, but I just thought I should ask my parents how I was when I was a kid. I don't know.
I think that it definitely can change. But with personalities, it's not an exact science. Some people probably change. In fact, I know some people that do. But there are also some people who really remain the same. And they act the same today as when you knew them as a kid.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Because like we said before, it's often situational. Someone can be extroverted in one situation and introverted in another.
So from what you remember of yourself as a child and when you were a teenager, Harp, do you think your personality has changed?
I think so. I used to be really shy, and sometimes I'm shy now, but really I'm more extroverted than I ever was before.
So how come you came out of your shell? Is there a reason why you became a bit more extroverted?
I think it was because of my sister. She was very extroverted, and she still is very extroverted, and she's always the center of attention. She's always telling these really funny stories. So growing up, she was the extroverted one. She would tell the stories, and I was kind of shy. But when I grew up, I went to a different university, and I kind of came out of my shell.
That makes sense, actually. I don't find that I've changed that much, but my change has been the opposite of yours.
Oh, you used to be more extroverted.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was very outgoing, very friendly, very talkative, and I had a lot of energy. My family has home videos, and when I watch myself on video, at about the age of 10, I'm crazy sometimes.
I would love to see one of those home videos.
They're pretty funny. So I think as I got older, I mellowed out a little bit. I consider myself still very friendly, but I also like my quiet time and just relaxing as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Talking about this makes me think of one of my favorite film series ever.
Oh, what is it?
Well, it's a series of documentaries called the Up series. And it's documentaries that were made in England. The first documentary was filmed in 1964. And the concept was they found children from a variety of social backgrounds, and the kids were all 7 years old, and they asked them questions about their life, about what they wanted to be when they grew up. And so that's the first episode. And then they meet the same people 7 years later when they're 14 years old, and they ask them the same questions about their life and what's going on. And then they do another one 7 years later and another one 7 years later. And actually, just recently, the latest one came out, and I think there's something like 56 years old now.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, and the idea was, if you meet a child at 7 years old, will it forecast or predict their future life?
And what were the results?
In some cases, what you would think would happen did happen. But in other cases, there were surprises too.
That sounds super interesting. I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yeah. When I started watching it a few years ago, I got really obsessed.
Okay, so should we do a quick recap?
All right. Today we talked about personalities, and we started by talking about personality types and the two basic ones, introverted and extroverted.
And then we talked about astrology and how it determines personality types.
Yeah, we also mentioned a little bit about blood types, even though we don't usually talk about that in Canada.
And we finished with talking about acting like yourself and whether your personality changes.
That's right. So, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and maybe it also got you thinking about your own personality type and whether or not you're introverted or extroverted.
We would love to hear if you are one or the other or a little bit of both.
And don't forget to go to our website, culips.com, that's CULIPS.com, and find out how to become a member. We will talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.